So a super 401k is actually a real thing. It is currently 100% legal, part of the IRS code. Basically, it's a self-directed retirement plan. I know that there are lawmakers that are trying to go away with this because there are people like us that take advantage of these programs and build wealth incredibly fast compared to what a normal 401k or IRA would do.
Welcome back to The Broke Billionaires, where we document our daily struggles in building wealth while raising a young family. Join us as we talk creative wealth building for everyday people and couples that are struggling in a down economy. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Joshua Masari, and we'll be your host.
Let's cheers tonight because I am actually joining you in a really nice non-alcoholic rosé, sparkling rosé from Free AF, and it's so good.
Hey, if it looks real, smells real, and tastes real,
pretty real.
The placebo effect says it's real.
The placebo effect is working.
You're going to get wasted.
I just needed a little glass of wine.
You needed it after today.
It's been a day.
It's been a rough day.
It's been a day.
Let's before we get into this, let's just talk about maybe not our day so much, but just the general struggles, because that is what this is about. So I think we should probably just kind of touch on, we're coming to the end of the year. It's December. I don't even know what the day it is. December 10th, something
11th,
like that. 11th.
Like that.
We got 20 days to go till we get to 2025, and we don't know if we're going to make it to 2025. Like financially, we don't know. Everything's closing in on us. Still no income. Finishing up construction on our properties. We have completely run out of money trying to get these done. And, personally, like all these investments and everything has really started to take a toll on personal. And it's gotten to the point where, we don't have money for Christmas presents. We don't have money for our kids' tuition this month. We literally have not been able to pay our bills. We have put everything into trying to get everything finished and just trying to survive. And it's definitely been a struggle, and it's getting harder and harder, it seems like, there's light at the end of the tunnel, but we got to get to the end of the tunnel. And that's going to be probably February-ish before, the rental properties are all stabilized and fully rented and construction complete on everything to where we can step back and it'll run itself. But we got to get there, and we're trying to find funding to bridge that gap and just trying to get through, income. We have no income right now. Haven't drawn a paycheck.
But you're still working a full-time job.
I'm working.
You have your business.
Getting up at 4 a.m. and still working my butt off. So I'm still working. I'm just furloughing myself. It's been, I don't even know the last paycheck. I think it was September, maybe.
Maybe a small one.
5 months since a paycheck at all. So trying to raise a family and pay all these mortgages with no paycheck just doesn't add up. Doesn't work.
Nope.
It's definitely not sustainable. And we've kind of gotten to the end of our rope. So we are trying to figure out how to make it through these last few weeks and survive to 25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, like you said, getting harder each day at this time of year is never an easy time to.
It doesn't help, but being in this situation during the holidays is
a little extra layer that gets added on for sure.
Yeah. We're making a push. We're going to make it. We're going to fight through and, not lose properties, not sell properties, and keep these assets and get everything stabilized and rented. And we're going to figure it out, but we just don't know how we're going to do that yet.
Yeah. I'm a little emotional tonight because we promised that we would be real and raw and open about this process because we keep saying over and over again, it's not easy. And I think that from an outsider's perspective, people think it looks easy and people think it looks like they think
we're doing really well. We got 3 houses, multi-million-dollar houses. We've got nice cars that are paid off. It looks like we're doing well, but it's, and we were doing well when we bought the car. The cars are paid off. So it's not like we have these car payments and we're overextending ourselves. No. They're electric cars, so we don't pay for gas. So it's a lot cheaper to operate. So we're actually probably in a better spot
And when you have babies that need to go in a car and just drive around to stop crying, it's very thankful for the electrics.
We got the free electricity, free charging for life with the family car, so that's nice.
But no, I mean, truly, in all honesty, I think that was really the point of why we wanted to start this, is just to be real and not to.
We're not the only ones going through this.
No, we
may be the only ones out of our friends, and we may be the only ones actually
putting
like
it
talking
out there
about
for
it.
Everyone, but
and I think it's a pretty private thing too. Like, people don't want to talk about these things. Like, there may be more people going through these struggles than you realize, because people don't want to talk about it because they're embarrassed. It's humiliating. I mean, we're putting a lot out there and hanging our laundry out to dry in front of everybody by kind of talking about this. But hopefully, there's people out there that are in a similar situation, whether it's because of investing or job loss or whatever it may be. Like, there's a lot of people struggling right now with how the economy has been the last few years. And, things were really good for us until mid 2022, and everything kind of stopped and really slowed down. So it's, we've kind of been able to live the last year and a half just kind of off of the previous successes and, the savings and things that we had built up, but it's kind of dried up. So we're just,
I think, like you said, though, the fact that we're not the only ones going through this is kind of what was pushing at least me initially to do this now. We've been talking about this podcast for what? I don't even know how many years now. Couple years. I don't think it was anything we planned on starting right now. We were just busy with the kids and busy with all the things. And I had really started to open up to a couple moms in a mom's group I'm a part of. And they both were very happy to know that someone else is going through something that they're going through. And they were just like so appreciative of the honesty, especially, like we keep saying, in an area where we live that's very affluent and people, you don't think anyone's going through a hard time. And I think that
people don't think we're going through a hard time. You look at our assets, you look at the cars, and people
I didn't
wouldn't think
that. And that's why I was honest with her and opened up about kind of what we're going through. And I'm so happy I did. And I feel like if we can make anyone, if I could just make a couple of those women feel not alone, then hopefully we can make other people feel not alone in what they're going through. And, hopefully we have faith that this will all pay off one day, and it won't be for nothing that we've gone through this. But
yeah, it will. It's just, it's not, this is not the easy way of doing things. Like, there's easier ways. But it's not the only way. So there are easier ways, but sometimes you have to get lucky in those easier ways. And
we are not someone that luck likes.
Right. And that's a luck game too. Like, starting a business and putting everything into it. Like, we have a business, but you have a startup and you put everything into it, and it may take off, it may not. And then you're backwards. It's just, but if it's one of those, one in a thousand that sticks and goes big, you get big. But there's different ways of building wealth, but this is a way that works. Like, real estate always goes up over the long haul. So you can't, as long as you can hold on and figure out how to manage everything, you'll always win in the end. But it's not easy because of acquiring these assets and when you're leveraged, when you're redoing a house and doing construction, it's not generating an income. So you're just going backwards. You're just bleeding every month. So it's difficult to get through those, the construction period sometimes. So you just got to fight through. And this is where having a strong marriage and a strong foundation and working as a team is crucial. And if we didn't have that, like, I don't even know how we would be getting through this, because it is hard. Yeah. Like, I don't feel like
we're fine.
We're good. Yeah. We're struggling through this together.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
this is not a blame game. This is not anything like that. Like,
there's tears, but they're not at each other.
No. It's just more so, the struggles of it all. But I think that we also, like we've said, like, we kind of thought about this plan and have been building this plan together. And so we knew that this was a possibility. I don't think we realized it would go as.
I mean, the economy's up and down. There's not cash flow like there was.
Yeah.
Money's a lot harder to get. So it's a downtime. When things are swing back up, we'll be riding that wave. But it's just, again, we're not the only ones going through this. It's just people don't talk about this. You don't hear
Yeah.
investors, there's investors foreclosing on apartment buildings and just all kinds of stuff right now, but they kind of disappear and you don't hear from them because the humiliation or just the feeling of failure. But I think getting out there and talking about this and kind of encouraging other people that may be going through it, it's just, it happens. It's part of life.
It's good to normalize it, right? Like, don't put up a front. And that was, again, why I didn't like that people were thinking that everything was fine and we're over here like really struggling. And I wanted to just be honest about that. So that's kind of where. And
for people that aren't struggling right now because they've set themselves up to where they aren't, like good for them. And that's hopefully like the next downturn will be in that scenario where we've got enough assets built up to where we're not running so thin and we can just cruise through those hard times. So we're making the sacrifices now to get to that point. Because if you kind of give up or you just say, we're not going to do this anymore, we just want to live more comfortably, you're not going to build that nest egg to be able to build that wealth and get you through those points. And one last thing on this, I think it's harder for women than it is for men to talk about this. I think for me to say that we're broke is probably easier with my buddies than it is for you to tell your girlfriends that we're broke.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Again, we're not poor. We have assets. We're still worth over $3 million. We just don't have cash. And we have too many things in play right now. And that's the struggle. The struggle is real.
It's very real.
But that brings us to our next point of, the building portion and seeing what that can do in the long run. So what are we talking about tonight?
We are talking about maybe one of your favorite things after me. We're talking about 401ks.
Well, it's pretty bad. Like, put yourself right above a 401. Like, people don't normally like talking about 401ks, and you got to like say, what does he like better, wife or 401k?
No, I'm by a long shot, but I'm just saying.
Okay. Like, all right, you kind of were bringing yourself down a little bit there. I will put you up way up on the pedestal, and then the 401ks down here, above all the investment stuff. One of my favorite things to talk about. I think this
nice save there. Nice.
This is probably one of the things that we get asked the most when people find out what we're doing with our 401k. They're like intrigued and like bewildered, like people just don't understand it and they want to know more because it's so out of the box what we're doing, and it grows wealth so much faster. Yeah. So what we're talking about today, we're gonna talk about supercharging your retirement with a super 401k. Dun, dun, dun. Just a quick disclaimer. The information shared on this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as financial, tax, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions. Your individual circumstances may differ and require specific strategies not discussed here. Now, let's get back to the show. So a super 401k is actually a real thing. It is currently 100% legal, part of the IRS code. You can do it. Anybody can do it. Basically, it's a self-directed retirement plan. And I know that there are lawmakers that are trying to go away with this because there are people like us that take advantage of these programs and build wealth incredibly fast compared to what a normal 401k or IRA would do. And so there's people that have like just very large nest eggs in their 401k and it's tax deferred money, and the government wants to touch that money and they can't until, way down the road. So they're trying to they're trying to find ways to go away with the 401k, or at least these super 401ks, eliminate these so that people can't shelter money and defer those taxes. Yeah. But for right now, it's still part of the code. And
this is different than obviously a traditional 401k, because those can be kind of controversial. You're starting to hear more about if people are really liking them or not. And I feel like there's not a lot of people are pretty black and white if they like them or not. Yeah.
So with this normal 401k, you have a 401k through your employer. It's an employer sponsored plan. And a lot of times employer will have a match, which I think is great. I think if your employer offers a match, up to 3% or whatever it is, and you're not putting that into the 401k, you're an idiot.
As I was when I first met.
That's what I think that's what I told
I
you.
think
You're an
did
idiot. The reason is because that is free money. Even if you put that money into there, let it vest, and then pull it back out or roll it over into another retirement account. But the fact that you can double, you should at least be putting in the match. So if they match up to 3%, you should be at least doing 3% because you are essentially doubling your money instantly. As soon as that money goes in there, it doubles. 100% return day one. So it doesn't make sense to not take the free money. So I always tell people, like, step one, make sure you're maximizing your match.
Yeah.
The thing I don't like about 401ks, and there's a lot of this starting to come out, mutual funds are what most 401ks are invested in. And you can put it into different things, but a lot of these 401ks are restricted to only putting money into the 401k plan options. So they have like a set of mutual funds that you can diversify into, but they're all mutual funds. And what I don't like about mutual funds is there's a lot of hidden fees. So
Yeah.
they say, oh, the return, this returned 12% last year, but then they take all their management fees and everybody that's getting paid along the way. At the end of the day, it's maybe making like 5 or 6%. I'm just throwing these numbers out there,
Yeah.
But it ends up being a decent chunk of the return at the end of it. And that's in a good year. On a bad year, if it loses return, those managers are still getting paid. So instead of losing 2 or 3%, you're losing 6 or 7%, 8%, because everyone else is still getting paid. So that's the controversy about mutual funds. There are some, I know the Vanguard S&P 500, I believe is close. I don't even know if you can invest in that anymore. But for a long time, that one was known as the lowest fees, management fees out there. And there's others that have kind of mimicked that, but a lot of these mutual funds are just fees on top of fees on top of fees that you never even see unless you read through all the pages that no one ever reads through or understands. There was a book that was written by Tony Robbins called Money. Really good book.
That's a good book.
He kind of made the pivot into investing in finance from the motivational speaking, but he did this book on money and interviewed a lot of people. And one of the things was really exposing the mutual fund world and 401ks and how the 401ks were designed and set up to sell these mutual funds. And then, that Wall Street's making money on this, and it's not really designed to help the actual employees who are contributing into it, because you get penalized for pulling the money out. Mm-hmm. So you got to keep the money in there. If you pull the money out, you get taxed on it because it was tax deferred, but you're also getting penalized an extra 10%. And then I think if you're in California, it's another 2.5% on top of that. So they want you to put your money in there, and they want to keep it in there so they can keep making money on it. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm anti-financial advisors, because we have financial advisors. We have money in like IRAs, and there are some very valuable information that financial advisors bring to the table, and they can definitely help plan things out. And for people that are not, they're maybe risk adverse, it may be a better option.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of back end stuff and a lot of these funds that just, you're not getting a lot of value. And someone's making money on your money along the way. Okay, so I believe the average 401k balance, I think we looked into this recently. Do you remember?
We did.
Let's look at the median.
Do you mean when someone actually retires?
Well, let's look at it. Yeah.
Like how much?
Oh, here we go. Median retirement savings by age. So, oh, wow. Okay, so under 35, the median retirement savings by age in the United States. So we're just talking about the U.S. here. Mm-hmm. Under 35 is $18,880.
All right, feeling pretty good. I was above that.
And this is across the U.S., so you're taking different markets and different income levels, and they're just taking the median. So it may be a little skewed for one market to the next, but this is everything added together. So 35 to 44 is 45,000. 45 to 54 is 115,000. 55 to 64 is only $185,000.
Jeez.
And that's when most people are going to start retiring. Is that really? Well, you're supposed to be able to retire 59 and a half.
Yeah.
So that's saying at retirement age, the median number in the US is 185. Now, 185 may go longer or may take you a lot farther in other areas. It wouldn't go very far here.
Right.
Maybe a one to 2 year runway.
I was going to say, and even when I was doing loans, I mean, if I talked to someone that had a 401k with that balance, that was like, wow.
Well, you were also not in California. Like a lot of people
True.
were
That
in
is
other
true.
areas where
Yeah.
that it will take you further, but still like that person has to live on that for the rest of their life.
Right.
And you got to think of inflation, like what's $185,000 today in 10, 15, 20 years is not
No.
$185,000.
No, definitely not.
Okay, so let's keep going. 65 to 74 is 200,000. So it doesn't really go up much, probably because people are starting to draw on it at that point.
Yeah.
So you're really just kind of replenishing what you're pulling out. And then 75 and older drops to 130. So assuming that because at 72 and a half, you are required to start taking distributions. So it starts to go down. The government wants their money, so they want you to deplete the account so they can tax you on that deferred tax liability.
Right.
So these numbers are not something that most people, even in areas that are more cost effective, in 15, 20 years, like this isn't gonna do much for you. And you add Social Security, it's not gonna get you through. It's gonna be a struggle. So, no offense to anybody that's got that, but now's the time to make a change and start taking things into your own hands. But that I just can't imagine retiring with $185,000 or $200,000 to live on, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then, maybe $1,000 to $1,500, whatever it is for Social Security. Like, at least not in our area.
Yeah. There's no way. We'd have to move for sure.
So, okay. So, supercharging your 401k. 401k. So what I have is called a solo 401k, and we'll go over a few of the different options here on what you can do. But 401k accounts are not just for mutual fund investing. Mutual funds are probably the last thing you should invest in my opinion, because the gain over time, you're not gonna like exponentially grow your money. It's gonna grow very slowly over time, and that's just if the market holds up. And you don't, look how many people in 2008 had their entire savings. Can you imagine retiring that year with 185,000, and all of a sudden that 185,000 drops to 75,000, 80,000, and then you're like, what? I mean, this happened to people.
Yeah.
This actually happened to people, and they're like, what? Like our savings is gone. Our retirement is gone.
So awful.
Like I can't imagine being in that position, but that's reality, and was reality for a lot of people. Okay, so what the self-directed? So there's several different types of accounts, but there's two main ones. It's going to be a self-directed IRA. They're all self-directed retirement accounts, meaning you are the one that's taking charge of your 401k, and it's not going, or your IRA, your retirement account. It's not going through your company and some, Fidelity or Charles Schwab or one of these financial companies that are managing it and putting it into mutual funds for you. And you get a login and you can go check it once a month and see what you're doing and see your contributions, and it comes out of your check monthly and everything. What a self-directed is you are taking charge and taking things into your own hands. What we've done, because you're not limited when you have one of these self-directed accounts, you are not limited to just mutual funds and stocks.
Right.
What are some of the things that we put our money into?
Property,
real estate. We are heavy into real estate. We still have stocks. There's some stock plays that we have, but I would say that's a very small portion of the account.
Right.
We're heavily into real estate, and we have rental properties and the rents. So we don't get to see any of that money though. All of the rents from the rental properties goes back into the 401k,
right,
as if it was a dividend from a mutual fund. So it just goes back into and just keeps growing, and then we use that to buy more properties. And the 401k actually owns the properties. It actually holds title to these properties.
Right.
So the you can also buy businesses. You can run a business, and I will say on real estate, it has to be passive. Has to be passive income. So a rental property that's a monthly rental, 12-month lease. It's a long-term investment. You're not allowed to do. You can do businesses. So, like a hotel or an Airbnb, something like that. You can own in the 401k, but at that point, the income is considered business operation income, and you get hit with what's called UBIT, which is unrelated business income tax. And so you actually get taxed on that so that you're not getting the tax shelter that you do with the passive. So it really makes a lot more sense for the passive side, not necessarily flipping. You can't flip houses because you're going to have that UBIT tax. So you're not going to. And the reason the government does that is it's an unfair advantage. If you have a 401k that's operating like a business and another operator that's out there in the real world is trying to compete, they have to pay taxes on their income, whereas you don't, because that you're deferring that. So you're able to grow a lot faster, be more competitive, and it's an unfair advantage for your business versus someone that's paying taxes. So that's why you do get taxed if you invest in something that falls into that category.
Yeah.
So for us, we've stayed passive. Everything's passive. We've never had any tax liability in the 401k. Everything's been 100% passive, and we've been able to grow it exponentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay. So, self-directed IRAs, anybody can do that. You don't have to have a business. Anybody can have a self-directed IRA. IRAs have a lower contribution amount so you can put in each year, and it's not usually sponsored by a company. Some companies have IRAs, but it's something that's just an additional account that's for retirement. Anybody can do it. You can have a 401k and also contribute to your IRA. There are total maximums that you have to stay under and guidelines you have to follow, but anybody can start an IRA. And you can do the self-directed and invest in real estate with it. The 401k is a little more complicated, but if you are able to do this, it's a little easier to operate. With a self-directed IRA, you have to have what's called a custodian. So you have a third party that holds the money, that's a custodian, and they hold the money, and some of them give you checkbook control, some of them don't, but you have to get approval from them per se to invest in property, or the check has to come from them. So that you have to kind of have somebody else handling the money itself.
Run it by them.
Yeah. So with a 401k, it's a single participant 401k. You manage the money, you make the call, like call all the shots. You don't have to get approvals or anything. It's just a lot more freedom to be, and it's a lot quicker, more efficient to be able to operate. But you have to own a business. So we're able to do that with the business, the printing business. It sponsors the 401k. It is a single participant. So I am the only employee. I do have you on payroll. So you can also add a family member, add your spouse, and that's still considered the single participant 401k because it's the same household.
Yes.
So there's different, you got to look into seeing what makes the most sense for your situation, but this is something that anybody can get into. So for 2024, most people are familiar with if your company has a 401k that you work for, or if you own a company and you're contributing for your employees, $23,000 is the 2024 limit for employee contributions. And then the employer will match up to 3% of your W-2 income or whatever it is that they have for their plan. So with the solo 401k, you can do the $23,000 as an employee. And then on top of that, you can do up to 25% of the W-2 income as an employer contribution. So it's considered a profit sharing plan is how it's looked at. So if you max out your $23,000 employee contribution, you can put an additional 25% of your W-2 income. You have to run it through payroll and pay taxes on it on your W-2. So you do have to pay some of those taxes to be able to get this benefit, but you can do up to 25%. Now there are total maximums, so you can't just do this and put hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in and funnel it away and hide it from the government. They do have maximums. So between the employer and the employee contributions, you can't exceed, for 2024, you can't exceed $69,000.
Okay.
That's a lot more than putting $23,000 away.
Definitely.
So it's definitely a way to supercharge the contribution amount. So a super 401k's got two things. One, you can put a lot more money into it and defer a lot more of your taxes. So you can take a lot of business revenue or a lot of business profit, funnel it into this retirement account and defer those taxes and really lower your tax liability for that tax year.
Yeah.
So if you're doing 69,000 for one person and you add your spouse, you can double those numbers.
Right.
So you can essentially put almost $140,000 away each year into an account, a tax deferred account.
Hey guys, if you're finding value or just want to follow along on our journey, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. That would help us tremendously. You can also follow us on Instagram at The Broke Millionaires and be sure to share with your friends. Now let's get back to the show. Remind me, how did you find out about this?
So I found out about this Bigger Pockets. It was like, so Bigger Pockets, I would say the first 100 episodes are like real estate investing gold. It was really good. And back then there was like nobody talking about this. I'd been around real estate and been doing investing a little bit. So I kind of had a good base. But there was a lot of these things like this 401k. When I heard about this, I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is so cool. And there was a couple episodes in that first 100 episode block. There was a couple, like 2 or 3 episodes on the 401k. And this was like new. So I started doing a lot of research. There was not books on it. There wasn't really a lot of information. So I really started going through forums. People are doing this on the forums, in the Bigger Pocket forums and just other forums on investing. And honestly, reading the IRS website. So you just Google.
This is why he takes the lead on a lot of this, because
yeah, and I enjoy it because that's how I find out about a lot of our tax loopholes. But I mean, if you just Google like self-directed IRA or solo 401k IRS, it'll pull up on the IRS website all of the rules and regulations pertaining to these, and you can kind of read through it. And it talks about how to set it up and how to contribute to it, the contribution limits, what you can invest in, what you can't. And so I kind of started going through that and I was just like, this is crazy. Like this is actually, because you can liquidate your 401k. A lot of people do that, liquidate their 401k and then they'll go buy something and then that'll be their initial seed money. And then they'll start, they'll flip something or they'll buy a building or whatever and kind of build up from there. But I really like the idea of sheltering these taxes and keeping it in a tax deferred account. So I really wanted to do this. So I started a business. This was 2015. I started my company, my printing company. I hadn't left my old company yet, but I had started it. So I had I was kind of already planning on doing it. So I started the company, had it set up, and then I wanted to get this in place right away. And so what I did is I had about $80,000 in my 401k at the time. I was probably 32. It was what? It was 2014. So 9 years ago. Yeah. So 33. I don't know how old I am. Yeah. So I was 33. I had 80, I don't know, between 80 and 90,000 in my 401k. And I was maxing it out, but it wasn't even a 401k. It was a simple IRA that the company had set up that I worked for somebody else at the time. It was a simple IRA and I had been maxing it out almost since I started. So I was putting into it for like 9 years and only had $85,000 with maxing it out as much as I could put into it. Because I think it was like 11 or 12,000. Maybe it went up a little bit each year, but it wasn't really growing much and it wasn't really doing much. So I wanted to give this a shot. So I rolled that over and like, I remember when I called, it was a Smith Barney or I don't remember who it was. That was like the finance company. That was running. They're like, are you sure you want to do this? And I'm like, sure am. And you can't do anything about it because it's my money. And so I had paid somebody, I think it was about $1,500 to get the 401k set up because you have to set up, it's a trust and you have to get it set up and make sure it's compliant with all the IRS guidelines. So I paid a company that specializes in that to set it up. And I rolled that $85,000 over into this account and started looking for my first property. And
it was quick you bought the first property.
Yeah, I think within a few months, I don't remember. It was like some real estate meetup that I had met somebody and they said, hey, I'm investing in this in Missouri. And so I bought a property in Missouri out of a foreclosure auction.
It was Missouri?
Yeah.
That was the first one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I bought a property there, rented it for a couple of years, and then sold it. And like between the cash flow and selling it, I like tripled my money. And so I was like, okay, so I've been saving up and putting into this for 9 years, and I had maybe $10,000 or $15,000 in profit
Yeah.
above what I had contributed. And then in just a couple of years, I tripled my money on this investment.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And there was no tax liability because it stayed in the 401k. So I was like, okay, I just did way better than I did over 9 years. In a couple of years, and I didn't do anything. I wasn't even putting money into it to get that return.
Yeah.
So
I remember you telling me about buying this property, and I was like, wait, what? Like, are we moving to Missouri? Like, I had no idea what any of this
so yeah, so
back then.
So just to clarify, like these are strictly investments.
Yes.
You have to treat it like it's a mutual fund. You
Yeah.
are not allowed to do any work on the property, so you
Right.
can't like renovate it yourself. You can't you can't do anything that's hands-on.
Yes.
So these properties that are owned by the 401k are all out of state. I've never seen the properties.
No, we've never been to the cities they're in.
Never been to the
We've never
state.
been, yeah.
Like never seen the properties at
Yeah.
all. So they're very hands off and they're passive. And I make sure that we're staying very compliant with the IRS rules concerning this. But after that first deal, I kind of like lit a fire and I was like, okay. And I had gotten connected with an old classmate from high school that was in South Carolina, and she was doing real estate and kind of an investor. She had several rental properties, and so she was investing out there as well as running a. She didn't have her own brokerage yet, but she was a pretty big real estate agent at the time. And I finally got a hold of her and just said, "Hey, this is what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to buy some properties, just pay cash for them. Like, what do you, can you help me out?" And after maybe just a couple months, there was a deal that came through and she said, "Hey, I've got this listing. Might want to take a look at it." And so she did. She was like my boots on the ground. She would go and do a video walkthrough, and then, because you can look at pictures and houses always look better in the pictures.
Oh, yeah. We have.
And you get there and it smells like smoke or smells like cat urine, or there's little things that are wrong that you can't see, or there's just like
wild what
mold,
pictures
like
can
all
do.
this stuff that you would not see in the pictures. So she would do a video and say, "Hey, like this is solid. I would buy this house." Like, so I bought a house for 30 grand, started renting it for $700 or $800, only put a couple thousand into it. It was pretty much ready to go because someone was living in it. And this is in South Carolina. So just, $30,000 actually buys a house with some property.
That was also, how many, 9 years ago? Was that it?
No, we're talking about 6-7 years ago now.
Oh,
It's
that's
not that
true.
long ago.
Yeah.
So I bought that one and then just kind of started looking and for more and more and bought a handful of properties in that 30,000, like $25,000 to $30,000 range. Put some money into them. Some of them I put a little more than others. Bought a duplex that I found on Craigslist from a seller.
I forgot you found that one on Craigslist.
I think I bought that for $40,000. That one I put some money into. It's been a really good rental, but did like a new roof, new windows, full paint job. Like that one I definitely put a little more effort into.
Yeah.
But anyway, like we'll go into these later a little more on the actual deals, and it hasn't all been like Fruit Loops and I don't know. What it hasn't all been like.
There's a big band going on with Fruit Loops right now.
I don't know. It hasn't all been flowers and
Isn't it roses and daisies?
Roses and daisies, whatever.
Something like that.
I mean, there's obviously problems and there's been some downs and there's been some wins and losses and some big losses. No, I wouldn't say big losses. Insurance made up for it, but we'll go into that later. But long story short, I did a disposition cycle this last year and a half. And I think I had like 6 or 7 properties that I had bought over the first 3 or 4 years of doing this 401k. And during that time, my business just started to pick up and do really well too. So I was actually maxing out the contributions at one point for a couple of years. It wasn't 69,000 at that time. 4 or 5 years ago, it was like 55,000, but I was maxing out. So I was putting a lot of money into it, buying these properties and just trying to build. And I just went through a disposition cycle. And so I sold most of those off. But these properties I bought for $30,000 that I held for 5 years and paid for themselves in the rents in that time, I was selling for $110,000. So I'm selling these properties for 3 to 4 times what I paid for them. and they were cash flowing the whole time, and I had no debt service on them because I just paid cash for them.
Right.
So I basically quadrupled that money over a 5-year period. Whereas in a mutual fund, you're getting, 6-7% if you're lucky. You're not going to see those kinds of returns.
No.
So after the disposition, I had a decent amount of cash. I had about $250,000 in cash that I started, mind you, I started from $80,000.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I did contribute. I probably have a couple $100,000 of contributions in that time. But add that to the 80,000, so maybe $300,000 or $400,000, $350,000 total. That was either solo 401k, so it was either rolled over or contributions. But the account value today is almost at $1 million. It's closing in on $1 million, and it should cross that next year. So that's a 7-figure retirement account that's been built up over 9 years, and that's a pretty powerful tool because there's no taxes on it. So everything just grows tax deferred. Now there's going to be a tax bill eventually and pull that money out, but I don't ever really plan on pulling it out until the government requires me to pull it out.
Right.
And I'll just pull out as little as possible. But using the metrics that we've been getting, like the returns we've been getting and the type of investments we've been doing, this account should, I think when I'm 60, it would, or I think it's like 40 million at 60. And then I think I figured at 72, which is when you have to start taking distributions, it should be at around 64 million.
It's crazy.
Which is insane.
It's insane.
I mean, right now it's a small pot, but the way it's exponentially doubled
right.
over the last 9 years, if that continues, it'll easily get to that number.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not going to be doing that buying $25,000 properties. Those are
no,
those are $100,000 properties now. But that we just bought an apartment building this year. We bought a duplex, so we're rolling those proceeds over into larger properties, and we're starting to leverage now because I wasn't leveraging before. So with a 401k, here's another thing: with a 401k, you can actually leverage the 401k, and the 401k can have its own loan. And I'm not a guarantor on it. I can't be.
That's right.
So legally, you can't be a guarantor. It has to be a non-recourse loan. So your 401k has to have enough funds in it and has to have be built up enough to be able to do that. And now I've gotten to that point where I can actually start to leverage it. So bought an apartment building. That was actually, so the leverage with 401k through institutional lending is not very good. It's like they'll give you like 60%, 50% LTV. So it's not really great leverage because it's a really high risk loan for the lenders. But what I've started doing is I've started doing seller finance deals where they're not restricted, they don't have their lending guidelines that they need to adhere to. And so I've been able to get much better leverage position. For example, this apartment building I bought with 12% down instead of having 40 or 50% down. So bought a 14-unit apartment building in Texas and currently in the process of turning that over and renovating the units. And we'll see. We're going into winter, so units are finishing up, and it's a little bit of a struggle to fill these. Yeah, kind of ran into the bad season, but survived till 25, and then we'll get through this. And then when weather gets better, and hopefully we'll have all the units filled up by spring. And the idea is to hold this for 5 years, and then at the end of 5 years, the loan I have is a 5-year balloon with either a 2 or 3 year option if I want to extend it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the 5 years, the plan or idea is that the value, because I'm doing work on this and getting rents up, and we'll get into this on another episode, but the way you make money in commercial real estate is by taking the profit that the property is generating and dividing that by the cap rate. So I bought it at about a 9 cap, and if I get all the rents up and everything's operating smoothly, and in 5 years, if I can get that value up and double that or close to double, I mean, maybe triple it. I don't know. We'll see where rents go. But at the 5 years, I've got two options. I can refinance into a more long-term debt, and the value will be high enough at that point where I won't have to come up with that 50% down,
Mm-hmm.
and I can still do it in the 401k with a non-recourse loan, or I can sell it, cash out, take that money out. And since it's going back into the 401k, it's tax deferred, it's in that tax shelter. I don't have to turn around. I don't have to 1031 it. There's no
Right.
tax liability. I don't have to worry about it. So I can just park it, let it sit, wait till the next investment, and roll it into something else and take that and probably leverage that into multiple investments.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's just a lot of different ways that you can really exponentially grow. There's people that so this is why the government is trying to shut these down. There are people like Peter Thiel who started PayPal. And when Peter sold PayPal, he got a lump sum of money in stocks, and he somehow, I don't remember exactly how he did it, but I think the stocks, when he sold PayPal, he got stocks in PayPal as part of the package of getting paid. And I think what he did is he rolled those into one of these self-directed retirement accounts.
Okay.
And so he's got, I don't know what the value is, but it's like stupid money. It's like stupid money now. So that's why they're trying to like shut these down.
So if these get shut down, then is that just no one new can get one, or does that affect ours?
I don't know. I think what they usually gonna do is try to like limit it so that people can't sell a company or because it was in stocks, he was able to do that because of that. But I think it'll be
maybe
more
just
like
more restrictions that are being
more
put
restrictions
on
on high net worth individuals.
Yeah.
And I think they kind of go after those people before they go after
the regular.
us. I mean, hopefully we'll be at that point at some time. That'll be another problem we have to deal with, but that's a good problem to have if you're trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. How Peter Thiel, you can search this, but how he turned $2,000 Roth into a okay, so in 2022, his 401k, or this was actually an IRA, so it was a Roth IRA. So with a Roth, you put the money in post-tax and then you pull it out tax-free. So that's a little different discussion, but his Roth IRA was worth $500 million in 2022.
And he left with 2,000, is that what he said in stock?
Well, he originally, I don't know. It says he turned to 200. He probably had a Roth IRA, had $2,000, sold the company, and then probably rolled those stocks somehow into that. I don't know how he got that much money in there because there's limits on what you can put in there.
Yeah.
So I'm not exactly sure
So
how he got that high.
$2,000 worth of stocks.
All I know is that
high.
this dude's got a $500 million. So he put the money in there and probably was only worth a certain amount at that time. And then that company blew up, when it sold because PayPal ended up selling to eBay. And so when that sold, that's when they all got cash. So he probably opened this ahead of time with stocks and put the 2,000 in there or however much he was able to put in. And then when it sold, it like exponentially exploded inside the 401k, but the money was already in there and the value was in there and it was a Roth. So it just grew tax-free at that point.
Wow.
So that's why.
What do we talk about? Luck.
Yeah. So that
is like,
so we're not on that trajectory, but
no.
I strongly believe that in retirement, we will have a $50 million 401k and we won't, because of all our other investments, we won't need this to live. This will just be a couple $1 million in extra income because we have to take it because the government's going to make us start drawing on it.
Yeah.
I think it was the minimum at 50 million. I think we're going to would be required to pull out like 2 million a year.
Yeah.
So, because they want you to deplete it. I think they figure out the average life expectancy and it's like, okay, you're going to live to 100. You need to start taking this much out. So you deplete it by that time.
Yeah.
But their calculations are based on normal returns. Right. So if we're still tripling, quadrupling every 3 to 5 years, we're going to outrun those minimum distribution. It'll probably recalculate every year. Mm-hmm. But I feel like with the calculation the government has or the IRS currently has in place, it'll keep growing. We're never going to deplete it because it'll just keep growing faster than we're pulling money out.
Right.
And then that'll pass to our heirs. And who knows, at that time when we're 100, it'll be worth, I don't know, $1 billion. Yeah. I don't know. It's just if it keeps doubling every 3. Yeah. So we've been doubling every 3.5 years. If it keeps doubling every 3.5 years, it's going to get pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. So fun stuff.
You can talk about this all day.
I could. I enjoy this stuff. And these are the conversations we get into with people. This is why we started this podcast because the 401k is the most talked about thing at like dinner tables. And so we're like, we should just talk about this and put it out there so people can just listen. And that way I don't have to
say it over
retell
and over
it over and over. Just tell it once.
Exactly.
But we can reach more people that way. And it's just, it's so the flip side of that is people there are a lot of investors that will say that 401ks are, you shouldn't do a 401k and you should just liquidate it and go invest. And that's one way of doing it. Not saying that that's not a good way of doing it. This is just the path that I've chose, and it's worked out. It's worked out. You know, it's not too many people that are 42 have $1 million 401k. And that's just going to keep growing exponentially as time goes on. Even though I'm not contributing to it as much now as I was, just because the business isn't, you know, so to contribute to it, you have to have a business that's operating with profit. You got to have enough profit to pay yourself a W-2 so you can do your employee contributions, and then you can only do up to 25% of that. So you have to have the extra profit to do that. And then for your business, the employer contributions at 25% up to 25% of the W-2 portion you're putting in, it's a write-off for your business. So your business isn't paying tax on that. It's just going in as an expense.
Right.
And then you're not paying taxes on it because it's deferred. So it just defers a lot of taxes. So we were able to really save on taxes when we were, you know, when the business was doing really well.
Right.
And I'm still putting into it, just not maxing it out. I think at the time, the last time I maxed it out was not last year, but the year before. I think I had to pay myself $170,000 to be able to max out the employee and then do the 25% of the $177,000. That calculation maxed out everything.
Okay.
So I know 2020, 2021, and 2022. I think 2022 I only did it for like half a year because that's when things really slowed down. So there wasn't enough money at the end of the day to keep doing that. So I had to scale that back, unfortunately. But the 401k has kept growing because it's got enough funds in there. It's a snowball that's rolling down the hill. So even though I was still throwing money and it still helps, like it's already going. And so it doesn't make as much of a difference at this point because the snowball is big enough to where it's kind of taking on a life of its own. You know, if I'm putting in $70,000 a year, the snowball is at $1 million already. So that $70,000 is, you know, 7% of that snowball. So it's not, whereas before it was a pretty big chunk. Now it's just, it helps, but it's really kind of less relevant now that it's been built up.
Right.
Okay. So other things you can do with and this is something you can do with any 401k, but, again, you can't flip with this 401k with a self-directed IRA or 401k. You have to have passive income. So that's one thing to keep in mind is it has to be passive incomes. You can't be flipping. You're going to get hit with that UBIT tax that I was talking about. Okay. So another thing you can do with a 401k, and this is something you can do with any 401k, not just a solo 401k or a self-directed IRA. And each account has different rules and maximums you can do, but you can take out a loan against your 401k. You can take out a loan really for anything, I think. I don't think there's any limitations unless you're
I don't think so.
doing something illegal, but I don't think there's any stipulation. And a lot of people, you can also do a early disbursement without penalty for things such as buying a home, buying a primary residence. There's hardships. There's things you can pull money out for and not have to pay that penalty. You still have to pay the taxes if there's tax liability on that money, which there may not be because you can pull out your contribution amounts without tax liability because your contribution amount, well, actually, no, because it's tax. If it's a traditional, you're going to have tax liability on that. It's a Roth that you wouldn't have that. Okay, so you're going to have tax liability pulling it out of deferred account, but you can pull money out for hardships. You can pull money out for a down payment on a home. You can also take out a loan, and the loan can be up to 50% of the account value, or up to $50,000, whatever's less. So if you have we have $1 million account, we couldn't pull out more than 50,000. But if you're just starting out and you have $70,000, you can take a loan up to 35,000. And the loan has an interest. You have to make monthly payments, but you're making the monthly payments to yourself. So instead of paying a bank, you're paying money to yourself. Now there's a lot of different plans, whether it's something that it's a self-directed or sponsored by your employer. And some of them may do it, some may not. I don't know. You'd have to look into that, but most plans have some sort of allowance to be able to pull money out for hardship or down payment or other things, or you can do this loan. So it's a good way to be able to utilize that if you need that. And we've used that to buy properties. We've done that for our primary that we bought a few years back. So we have utilized that many times. And it's still an asset for the 401k because it shows as an outstanding loan that the 401k is making money on. So the 401k is growing. You're paying the interest, but you're paying it to yourself. So at the end of the day, you're just putting more money away into savings, essentially. We talked a little bit about the RMD, which is the required minimum distribution. So any retirement account is going to make you start pulling money out at 72 and a half. And they just calculate your life expectancy. I think they figure like a 4% ROI, and they try to figure out how to deplete that by age 100. It's something like that. Again, with the way that we're doubling every few years, if we keep that up using that calculation, they're probably going to have to reset it each year. But I ran the numbers here. So at 72 and a half, the 401k should be worth about 64 million. Doing what we're doing now. If we start getting
that's
more,
a little on the conservative side.
This is conservative. I mean, if we start as we get into more commercial deals, this could exponentially change over time. So that could be a lot higher. But hey, worst case scenario, we end up in retirement with 64 million. 64 million is not as much then as it is now, but it's still $64 million, and it still should be plenty to live on.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's say at 72 and a half, we're required, or I'm required because I'll be 72 and a half before you will, required to start doing the RMD with the current rate of return. So with our current rate of return, the 401k itself will be earning about $7.5 million each year.
So crazy.
In either equity or rental income. And the government's only going to make us pull out I think it was 1.8 when I did their calculator.
Okay.
So 1.8 per year is what to pull out, but it's earning $7.5 million. That means it's going to keep growing $6 million per year, even after we start drawing on it.
Yeah.
We might start drawing more at that point. And I just, get one of those super yachts, like book for a birthday.
We better.
Even in 30 years, that's still going to be a lot of money.
Yeah.
Hopefully. We'll see.
Yeah.
But this is one way to supercharge your retirement and kind of take charge of your own finances and not rely on the financial system, which is not necessarily in place to benefit you. I will say that there are benefits of 401k, like traditional 401ks and investing, and especially when your employer is doing your match. Mm-hmm. But it's a good way for somebody starting out, if they don't know where to start, like start with a 401k to build a nest egg to give you something, because that's what I did. I built that up and was able to roll that over and then start leveraging that into this other account. So it's a good way to start saving and taking advantage of that match to get going. But there are better things you can do as you learn these other tricks and other ways of spending your money or investing your own money. It is your money. So don't rely on somebody else to do something that's in your best interest with your money.
Absolutely.
Not always the best. I mean, it can be, and not to say that all financial advisors are out there to get you. It's not necessarily the financial advisors that's the problem. It's the system. It's the system and all the back end fees and everything else. So, I'm not trying to paint a bad picture of financial advisors.
No, not at all.
We work with them and they're great. And I've got some that are very good friends, and I'm not trying to say that at all, but it's just, I think it's more of a system flaw than anything.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. All right.
Well, you already did a book and a podcast for today. So Money.
Yeah, the book.
Tony Robbins.
So Tony Robbins' Money. It's a long book, but that thing is jam packed. And I will say this: Tony Robbins really exposed the 401k system and mutual funds and how they're just not meant for the people, and it's really just all the back end fees that it's designed for. And he kind of plugged his own company. He plugged this company that, they didn't have all the fees and all this. And I believe he owned part of that company, or he had a hand in it. So he was plugging this company that was doing things differently. And I don't remember exactly, but I want to say that something bad happened with that company.
That sounds...
Pretty sure they got in trouble for something. And I don't know what it was. So
that sounds familiar.
Yeah, so take that with a grain of salt. Do your own research, but I don't know what happened there. But the information in the book is really good. It's just like Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That is some of the most foundational investing advice and knowledge that you can get. But Robert Kiyosaki got in trouble with one of his businesses, got in some I think it was like some tax fraud, or I don't know what it was. It was something financial with taxes, and there was some issue with a corporation. And so there's this bad picture that's been painted of Robert Kiyosaki, but the information is still so good. The knowledge is still there, and those fundamentals don't change. So,
right.
Tony Robbins' Money is a great book. And again, the Bigger Pockets podcast, that first 100 episodes, there's so many different investing strategies that you can learn in those first episodes. It's really, really good info.
Yeah.
And it's free.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Just listen to it while you're driving around.
Definitely.
Anything else?
No.
I talked a lot today, but
this is kind of your wheelhouse. So
yeah,
I knew
I know
you were going to.
This is going to be a 2-episode thing. We'll dive into the deals.
I would say. We'll
dive into the deals so you can actually see the nitty gritty, how they work, how they worked out, what we've done with these properties, and then some of the bad things that have happened and how we ended up sorting those out and getting through those. So we'll get into those in the next episode.
Rainbows and butterflies. That's what it is. It's
Oh,
not
I
all
was
rainbows
way
and
off.
butterflies.
Okay.
So was I.
Rainbows and butterflies. Okay. All right. I think that's it for tonight. Get out there and make it happen.
Thanks for listening. This has been a production of Rebuilding the Dream Studios.